Oops, he did it again. Trump made him think that they're more than just friends. So President Trump said that Kim Jong Un is he fell in love with Kim Jong Un. Well, this is something which really deserves more attention than it's getting. Kim Jong Un is usually reckoned to be the cruelest tyrant on earth. Of all the 190 heads of state, he is probably the worst. And Trump loves him. He doesn't love any other head of state, so far as I've heard, only Kim Jong Un. Isn't there something very deeply troubling about that? And why has there been no pushback from the Republican Party? It's completely invertebrate now. John McCain, were he alive, would surely have something to say about this. And isn't it worrying that Trump loves these absolute rulers, these governments that use torture on an absolutely industrial scale, that literally enslave their people? Political prisoners are sent to do hard labor down the mines in North Korea. I should have called it the People's Democratic Republic of Korea. I doubt Trump would know its proper name. So people who viciously oppress others. And Trump is filled with nothing but admiration for such cruelty. Bullies, that's who Trump is drawn to. I wonder why he has fellow feeling for them. And so far as I know, not one Republican politician has spoken out and said, this is unacceptable, this is nauseating. So in the Cold War, it was said, well, certainly of Anastasio Somoza, the ruler of Nicaragua, someone said how he's a dictatorial son of a bitch. And I think it was Truman who said, yes, but he's our son of a bitch. As in, okay, there are a lot of despots in the developing world. The one side in the Cold War has theirs, the United States has its. And so we just need him because it's either him or the other side will take over and put their dictator in. Okay, but that doesn't apply in the case of North Korea. It's not as though he is pro-American or done anything useful to the United States, or the alternative is worse. The alternative would be to unite with South Korea, Republic of Korea, one of the most prosperous nations on earth, a very free country with a free media, where a corrupt president can be deposed without spilling a drop of blood and sent to prison. I suppose Trump finds that deeply worrying. Anyway, well, so Trumpsters, they're always railing against how pathetic snowflakes are. Well, look at Kim Jong Un, what a snowflake he is. Because if you utter nary a word of criticism, you know what's going to happen. So for simply speaking out against him, you can spend years doing penal servitude, and people are drilled senseless, having to stomp up and down preparing for these big parades. So it's all about monomania, well, sort of megalomania, I should say. I mean, his monomania is his family. Or what would the other word be? Apollonism. So showing how mighty the state is, militarism. Just the kind of thing that Trump finds irresistible. It's so alluring, this endless adulation with the whole country's one song and dance routine extolling the leader's manifold virtues. So Trump will often expatiate on how dreadful Justin Trudeau is, or he was scornful of Theresa May right before becoming her guest. Yeah, he was a guest of the Prime Minister, not the Queen, because it wasn't a state visit. And he'll take a swipe at many other leaders. He's disdainful of democratic leaders generally. Well, Reagan had an expression about this. That's what appeasement is betraying your friends whilst you suck up to your enemies. And your enemies are going to have nothing but contempt for you, and you're going to lose all your friends. So it's moronic. Remember when Republicans used to admire Churchill, who did the exact opposite? In fairness, Churchill did team up with a few dictators. So Republicans often say, isn't it terrible the Mueller investigation's a witch hunt? They're no longer saying that, I notice. Even they seem to have tacitly accepted it's onto something. Well, talk about witch hunts in North Korea. If anybody utters a word of criticism of this cruel tyrant, as I say, you know they're going to spend years doing hard labor. False accusations, they're so hurt by false accusations, the grand old party. Well, how about false accusations leveled at anyone who opposes Kim Jong Un? They're fascists or pro-Japanese or something like that. Fake news. Well, his government pumps out fake news like nothing else. Claiming even that his father, the late Kim Jong-il of unhappy and inglorious memory was born in Mount Gateku, the sacred mountain in North Korea. In fact, he's born in the Soviet Union, and on and on. So they're very, very often Christian fundamentalists, Republican voters. North Korea is one of the most anti-Christian countries in the world, where Christians are viciously persecuted because this godlike leader doesn't want any competition. Where are the Christian fundamentalists now? Why aren't they denouncing Trump for betraying Christianity and speaking up to this modern-day Nero? So Republicans often want capitalism. North Korea is a communist society. They want free trade. Well, people can't trade freely in North Korea because the state owns everything. You denounce public ownership, so I want to hear you spewing bile about North Korea. Gun rights, Republicans all for that. Well, look how disarmed they are in North Korea. I don't think anyone outside the military or the police has guns. You know, you often sneer at countries like France, the United Kingdom, where ordinary people do own guns. They need licenses, but ordinary people can get guns, unlike in North Korea. No right to leave the country. Well, no rights, full stop, in North Korea. And yet the Republican Party has nothing to say about this, doesn't seem to be one bit perturbed that their idol, Donald Trump, is kowtowing to North Korea. Oh yeah, Trump wouldn't survive there long because there's no McDonald's. Anyway, well, let's be fair to the Republican Party. There are some things they should like about North Korea. Isn't it wonderful that they dig up coal? Beautiful, clean coal. Because global warming, I mean, that's a complete hoax. And, they don't care about the environment. They probably have no minimum wage. Doesn't that ensure prosperity? Well, they've got full employment. I mean, in the slave labor camps. Isn't that something that's praiseworthy? Oh, and as for the militarists, well, they've got the draft. How about that? So, anyway, North Korea does have a religion, and that's one of the reasons why Christianity is effectively prohibited. It's the only country in the world to have a dead man as president. Kim Il-sung, who died in 1994, was declared eternal president. And how about this for mythology? When he passed away, 1,000 birds came to carry him to the celestial realm, but he couldn't go to the heavens for a whole month because I think the world was weeping and wouldn't let him go. And this is the sort of twaddle that's pumped out by North Korean state media. Fake news for you again. Donald Trump would lap it up. Little Rocket Man. I wonder if Trump's going to mention that about Little Rocket Man. And who has the bigger button? Do they compare their size of their buttons? Wouldn't surprise me. Maybe he loves them in that kind of way too. So anyway, Trump is often slagging off the People's Republic of China. And who was North Korea's main trading partner? China, which could close down North Korea, get them to do what they want. And more or less they did, because they had a stranglehold on North Korea and they were choking it off to force them to the negotiating table at Singapore. So that's because they wanted nuclear war to be averted, and they were successful in that. But now that Trump is upping the ante with the Chinese are indeed opening the gates to trade with North Korea, and another country in the region, which I shall not name, is also doing commerce with North Korea. So the economic pressure is off them, so cooperation will be less forthcoming. Trump wants to build many golf courses there. Well, he said it himself. So there you see, that's his ulterior motive for tugging the forelock to this vicious tyrant. I'm flabbergasted that nobody else seems to be nauseated by him sucking up to such a ruthless thug. Well, I suppose maybe Trump has to respect Kim Jong Un for being fatter than he is. Kim puts his name on everything. Well, I can see there's a bromance there. They got something going there. They are kindred spirits. Like Trump put his name on everything. Trump Steaks, Trump Tower. This constant need for validation, for adulation. It speaks of a very deep psychological disorder. And oh yeah, even better, Kim's surname, Gim should be pronounced, means gold. So he's trumped Trump. Don't forgive the pun. Well, Kim Jong Un is certainly respected by his media, as Trump said. Is Trump oblivious to the fact that obviously the media is simply his cheerleading team? That it's a completely unfree society? That is fake news pumped out 24/7 to brainwash the people? I mean, he's got no sense of irony, no self-awareness, Trump. Is he trying to be ridiculous? And he certainly has huge rallies that Trump would covet. So how does Trump get away with such lies and such vile behaviour? I'm just constantly staggered, and only 9 percentage points behind in the opinion polls. He's ceaselessly crawling to tyrants whilst thumbing his nose at America's allies and democratic leaders. He drags America's name through the mire. Not long ago, the USA was a beacon of freedom to many people who lived under unfree regimes, but no longer. The occupant of the White House is someone who sees nothing but honour amongst those who do most to oppress their fellow humans. So it's a very plaintive reflection, a very sad degeneration that the presidency of the United States has come to this, to someone who will only speak up for oppression and who expresses outright contempt for liberty.